Good morning, everybody, and today we'll be talking a little bit on mental health. And as you can see, it's a sausage party here, so I guess it's coming from a man's perspective. And I am Ludwig, I am your moderator and your sort of host. And yeah, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Chris.
My name is Uzai.
My name is Lukman.
And I'm Ian.
And this is therapy time.
Therapy time.
Yeah, therapy time! So, if you haven't already guessed by my initial explanation and our podcast name, we'll be talking about mental health, right? So, first and foremost, let's start off with something very, very easy, very simple. What comes to mind where the word mental health is talked about? Go.
Suicide.
But basically, I think when it comes to mental health, it's most likely for me, it's on like what's going through your head and also what you're going through with your environment as well.
Right.
The first thing that comes to my head when I hear mental health, could be cases, like dementia, schizophrenia, bipolar, schizoaffective disorder, and many more. Yeah.
For me, it's psychological well-being.
That's pretty much like the definition of it. I love it. Okay.
Google search. Okay.
So, as you all know, right? Within our Asian culture, our parents call it to weep all the time for being like depressed and shit. Like our mental health is not. It's not because now like the generation now everyone's like prioritizing like the mental well-being, but like why is it so disregarded in like our culture? I mean, lately it's been on the rise, but it's still not as on the rise as like the white people. So like, what do you guys think?
I think in regards to Asian culture, obviously, if Asian culture don't really teach you to be more expressive with yourself, they normally teach you to be, if you're a guy, you need to be strong, you need to be like, don't show your emotion, you need to be hard, you need to be the breadwinner of the family. And I guess it also comes from their old tradition. They don't necessarily deal with mental health. If they have a problem, they'll just deal with it in whatever way they want. They don't express it out to people. So obviously, with that mindset in mind, they would place it onto yours as well. That's why there's a term called old-fashioned. So that's why I would say it's more in the sense that they are trying to bring their own tradition over to us, and that's the only reason why we can't really necessarily bring it out to our parents, because again, old-fashioned and everything.
Right. What about the rest?
Particularly if you come from a very conservative family tree, and that is very common in Asia, Southeast Asia, where we're living in. They would expect that as long as you're, let's say, committing to your faith and whatnot, God will be there for you and there's nothing for you to worry about. And the next thing is physical and mental. That's two concepts that we have to juggle, So, let's say you already have a physical problem. Say you're crippled and whatnot, that's one problem. But if you bring in the mental concept, that will make things harder for most everyone. Yeah.
And I think for Asian parents, what Chris said earlier, when they deal with their parents or the generation before that brought them up, I think there's a stigma there where they don't tend to share their feelings, or they feel they can't express what they feel or what kind of I feel that most of them are quite because for traditional mindset they are much more, I'll say very they don't know how to. I mean, their mindset is quite different from us for people today, and they sometimes I'll say it's very screw up their mentality, and sometimes it reflects on our parents or the generation before.
Yeah.
And they couldn't express how they feel or
Yeah, I guess how the old mentality, probably they were raised where you need to work and work for the future itself, to improve and everything for the environment, and also to improve their lifestyle and elsewhere. So I guess they don't prioritize that mental health that much. I would say probably bottom of top 10 itself in their list. Yeah.
Right.
So maybe that's the reason why they don't prioritize things on like sharing feelings and everything, because if you're religious, maybe they say, oh, you follow God will be there and
Oh yeah,
everything.
definitely.
Yeah. And also like probably okay, if you don't want to share feelings, maybe you work something on so that you can have something to
Distracted.
Yeah, to be distracted.
Yeah.
So that's how it is.
Yeah, I understand. My parents also sometimes like, oh, just trust God. Like, I'm trying. It's so difficult.
Sorry. When I was in high school, it was a Islamic high school. Right. Yeah. There was this guy. I remember. I think he had a mental breakdown or something like that. So like somebody went to fetch a teacher, and she was like, "Tak cukup iman, you gotta have enough."
Yeah.
Yeah, tak cukup iman.
Right.
And pray enough. I was like, what the f***? That guy was having a mental breakdown, and the teachers were helping out.
Pray more. Yeah, but we, as all people, we confirm have been through like a period of time in our lives where, our mental health was stretched very thin. And I think the most recent case, or the best example for most of us, I think, was during the pandemic. I think, with the exception of one of us here, you'll share his experience later, but I think like the majority of us here had like big trouble during the pandemic, and even for me, it was pretty bad. I was going pretty like nuts on like the first couple of months. It took me a very long time to get used to studying online and stuff, but eventually I got used to it. But what about you guys?
I guess for me it was tough for the first few months, and also like during the first period of the pandemic.
Right.
Yeah, at least 1 year for me, because it's so struggle, because you can't see people, you cannot go out. Maybe if you want to talk to them, also you don't have that the physical connection and also like emotional connection when you talk to a person physically. So it's very hard for me, and also like maybe some of you guys have been through that as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to explain when you want to express like your own detail of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel.
For me, I think I went through a period of anxiety and like I guess mild depression when I was like in my early teenage years, like 14, 15. So I think that was also another one. But in the case of the pandemic, for me, I think the pandemic, the situation, I think it was, I could handle it, but the only issue was at the time I was living by myself. My mother was working abroad, and she could not come home, obviously because Malaysia closed their borders and all that. So it was that feeling of loneliness that also drove that anxiety to the max for me, because when you're alone, just waking up out of bed, you go to online classes and you're just waking up and just see like the house is completely empty, looking like a freaking horror movie or something, and you just feel that anxiety rise each day. So I think to me, it was not the coping with the lessons or coping with anything else, it's just coping with that sense of loneliness that led to the anxiety, more of the anxiety attacks for me. The one guy that was perfectly fine.
Yeah, I feel like for me it's more of like a break from society, because at that time I was very my social battery is quite exhausted at the time, and yeah, it's a perfect time for me to take a break. I just staying at home, chill, do assignments online. It's quite nice for me. I mean for the beginning, but of course, in the long run it's a bit hard to deal with because like what Udaria and Chris said earlier, you don't have physical connections, you can't meet up with friends or family. That's the hard part, but I really enjoy it for the past.
Did COVID affect my mental health? Definitely, because when MCO started, the two bad things happened like right away. First, I lost my part-time job. I was repairing guitars, servicing guitars and whatnot. Not that the business was good for MCO, but there were still customers. But when MCO started, like yeah, they cannot come and pick up their guitar or send the guitars anymore. So my boss called me one day and like, I have to lay you off. The MCO is like hurting us all. But at least he was honest about that, not like the part where he can't pay me anymore and whatnot. The second worst thing was having to move back in with my parents. Yeah, because like everybody has like this benchmark for their age, you know. Yeah. Because because like this year I'm 28. When MCO started, people around my age, they either have like some places to stay, not relying on their parents anymore and whatnot. So when I came home after not seeing my parents for like what, a couple of years or 3 years, I was like, then I don't mind the online classes and whatnot. What the truth, if I'm being honest, what hurt the most was losing accessibility to like certain vices, you know, drinking, drugs and whatnot. So
we'll get to that. So to continue on, right? So like besides the MCO, like can you guys like share like a moment of like the period where like your mental health was like at the lowest of low, where like it's just shit. You know? Maybe even at the point where you would actually consider suicide, and if you did suicide or not. Yeah.
yeah.
Wait, sorry. Wait, is it the experiences?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What contributed to like? I mean, do you being sad, depressed?
For me, it's more on early teen years, where I wasn't really confident with how I look. Or like, you know, like how society or the internet like makes you feel that you need to look a certain way or act a certain way.
Yeah.
That's how I felt even when in school. There's that pressure in high school, because I remember I wasn't the most good looking guy back then, and I'm still not the best looking guy.
I was gonna say, but now, is that what you're trying to say?
No, that's not what I'm trying to say, but yeah. Back then I wasn't the best looking guy. Everybody, I don't know. I received many comments about how I look, or basically about my acne or how I look or how am I ugly. And on that, I also like quite hard on myself when it comes to my body. So when there's like so many factors, like school, no matter wherever I am, like no matter what's the setting, like in school or in church, I've always received comments about how I look, and that really hit me quite hard for many years, where I wasn't happy with myself, and I start to grow a hatred for myself. And that's when I start to have like thoughts like, not to say like it really to an extent where I need to see a doctor or depression, to a state of depression, like clinical depression. But I remember that those years were very difficult for me, as I'm constantly reminding myself how ugly or how unworthy I am because of how I look. So
Say the best for us.
Say the best of us. Come on. For me, I did mention teen years, 14, 15. I think for me it was just more like that feeling of not being able to fit in anywhere. Because at that point, I moved to a brand new school, and it was already a terrible start. It was a bad decision and all, but I got a lot of bullying from the rest of my classmates. They throw, like, during assembly, they normally have you in a hall, but this one was like actually in a parking lot. No idea why. So obviously there's like small pebbles you can pick up and you can throw it. So they would throw them at the back of my head because I'm always sitting in the front, and then after that they just throw it at the back of my head. And obviously, I think there were other situations where they would hide my shoes whenever we had to enter like the library and whatnot. So at that point, I just started thinking, oh god, this is a horrible experience. I can't really tell it to my parents, obviously, because parents are also old-fashioned in a way, because I don't think they would understand how I feel. So obviously, because of that, the the way it keeps on going, and after that, I slowly started developing all these thoughts. I think that was at that point was the start of all these self-criticisms in my head. It would just start saying like, oh, you're such an idiot, or you're so dumb, you're so terrible looking, and all that. I mean, I didn't get all those comments from church, so that's a bit surprising because I thought church was a safe haven for a lot of people. But
Side note.
but yeah, then after that, I think the most I've resorted to is just like hurting myself, and then after that, I just Google up what's the easiest and painless way to commit suicide, and I think one of it was jumping off from a high building because the moment you land, you won't feel anything anymore. So yeah, I was living in a condominium at the time. We had a balcony and I was living like the 13th floor. It was like, oh, so easy, but yeah, I didn't decide to take that step forward.
Yeah, for me, my experience is that going through this mental health was, I mean, for me, it's like there's an illusion and also like there's a voice inside my head during that period of time, during the COVID first year. So it involves with some certain materials previously, and that makes me to go through those illusions and also like the voices inside my head, and also that going through those stuff, it also involved where I started to write things on notes and then patch it on my wardrobe and also walls. You know, you sometimes you want to express, but you are unable to make people understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I try to explain with my family and also certain of my friends, they say, oh, you need to calm down, you need to chill because you just talk to us. Yes, I can talk to you, but you know, sometimes you feel like they don't understand you in a way. So that's what I was going through, and it's really hard for me because not just about the environment that I'm trying to, you know, like to talk to someone or whatsoever, but it's just like you have that feeling that you want to go through and then you feel like you want to suicide yourself as well. So that illusion and that voice inside your head was, for me, it was, I don't know, it's more than 100% to say that I'm able to, you know, maybe kill myself in a way. But from time to time, after that, it will be like slowly going down, I guess. But still, you know, like you still have to go through it, and I don't know how to explain more, but somehow you will understand in the future. I don't know, hopefully. Yeah, but that's what I'm going through now.
Hopefully not, they don't have to go through
Yeah,
this actually.
But in a way, try not to go through it now.
And now saving the best for last.
Where did I start? Try to make this as short as possible. So I basically didn't come from a colorful background, you know, with flowers, Care Bears, hugs and whatnot. I suffered a lot of abuse, mentally, physically, like from everyone, not just my family, like people in school and whatnot. So by the time I was in high school, I started I didn't start with drugs yet in high school, but there was glue sniffing and laughing gas. Yeah, that's how I basically coped with my problems. Then after high school, 18 years old, I got into university. Yeah, that's when I found weed, cigarettes, alcohol. Then like a couple years later, the weed doesn't cut it for me anymore, so I went for heroin, cocaine. So I abused the substance for like about 8 to 10 years. Then like last 2 years, it took a toll on me, like with MCO and everything and whatnot. I started hearing like shit in my head. I thought like all the things I was suppressing were about like since my childhood. It's like they came back to bite my ass. So I started hearing voices and I get mood swings, especially like violent. I lash out at people. Yeah. So after the third suicide attempt,
Third.
the first one was 2000. When was the third Thor Ragnarok came out in what, 2017, right?
17, yeah, I think so.
I was watching Thor Ragnarok in the cinema, but I
It
wasn't.
was so bad you needed to commit suicide, right?
It was
The
a
movie is good.
Yeah, the movie is good and entertaining. Yeah, the movie is good and entertaining. And for someone who likes movies, if I watch it and at that point when I was watching Thor, I didn't feel shit. The funny bits where I'm supposed to laugh, I didn't laugh. It was just like wallowing in the cinema, wallowing in self-pity and whatnot. So after the movie, I came back to my apartment, went to the grocery store downstairs, bought a 250 cents razor, the square, the classic razor, yeah. Then I came back to my apartment. My two Indian colleagues were there. I was like, hey, I'm gonna shit. I'm gonna go take a shit. Yeah. Then I slit myself in the wrist. Not enough to kill me a lot. At the same time, I kind of figure out like if I fucking die here, my two Indian colleagues are gonna go to jail. I was like bleeding. I was like, I almost passed out like head and whatnot. Like after 2 hours in there, I was like, oh shit, they're gonna go to jail. So I can't remember the rest. I just remember like my two colleagues like helped patch me up and they bought like 2 bottles of beers. Then the second attempt was I think a year or a few months after the first attempt. I was in my room. I visited my parents for a bit. I was in my room. Then I took my shoelace. I tied myself. I hanged myself from the doorknob. Yeah. And I soaked the floor so that if I tried to stand, having any second thoughts, I wouldn't be able to stand. Yeah. But the rope, I passed out. I literally thought that was it. Like, you know, if you choke yourself or drowning, trust me, like, you're just gonna pass out. Yeah. So, but when I wake up, the rope broke, and my dad was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "It's just Tuesday." The third attempt was like right after MCO started because I couldn't access like alcohol, like drugs, and I was back with my parents. I had no job. Then I bought cocaine. One thing about buying drugs in Bukit Bintang, it's not always 100%. I think I got very tough with that cocaine because I literally snort like at least 10 grams and I didn't die.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't die. So went for help. I met a few therapists, took some tests, did the side work for like almost 1 month. And I was diagnosed with schizophrenia, associated with intermittent explosive disorder. Yeah, it's basically like I have episodes, like delusional, and if I buy that delusion, I'll get angry. So like one time I stabbed my little brother in the plywood tent, and I threw a stool into my auntie's face. Because a stool, you know, like the
A stool?
Stool, yeah.
Okay.
It was a harmless joke, lah. Yeah. I mean, similar cases happened in college too, lah. There was a can't remember the name.
That's not mentioned.
Yeah,
I
that's
remember
not
that there was an
mentioned.
incident in college.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
Couple of people in college, I kind of like verbally like bash them off for. I mean, it's not their fault. I just kind of control myself. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your experiences. I think like just to go back on what some of you said. So like it's very interesting on how everything that we do, like we all have some sort of like coping mechanism, and like the places where we thought we'd be safe, turns out it's actually like the not safe place. Church, I'm kidding. But yeah. Honestly, sometimes it is. It's the way things are. Honestly, can't help it. But yeah. Thank you for sharing once again about your experiences. I mean, it's pretty sad that all of us have been drawn to the point of suicide, even for myself, because I had this very dangerous chemical mix of experiences where like, I get bullied in high school, verbally, not physically, but it was pretty bad for me. My family is running a business and lots of money were getting lost and a lot of high tension in the family. And the one place where you need to expect most is church. I expected to find comfort there, but turns out church was just as exclusive, and generally this mix of stuff just drove me a bit over the edge. I didn't have anyone to talk to, so I didn't know how to start talking. Then I wanted to kill myself. Right? But do you guys actually know that suicide is technically a crime in Malaysia? So it's Section 309 of the Penal Code and Article 215. So what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, okay. Okay, so like, I feel like, because it's being criminalized, people would be afraid to reach out for help because they might be afraid of the legal repercussions they will receive after they open up to people like, oh, I'm considering of suiciding. And instead of getting professional help, they might end up, have legal repercussions like fines and stuff. Because I saw an article online, there's this guy who jumped off his building, his flat, and instead of providing professional help, he got slapped with a fine of 3,000 ringgit.
Damn.
Yeah, and I think this law will further worsen people's mental health issue and also drive people away from reaching out for help. And these fines, I think it's very inhumane in a way, because it's make people to fear suicide, but at the same time not address their existing mental health issues.
Yeah, I think one thing that they're trying to do is just like they're trying to apply something like a prevention to make them like, oh, don't suicide because obviously you're gonna pay like this amount of money.
So like they're gonna make you scared.
Yeah, it's like try and make you scared, but at the same time, I feel like it doesn't solve anything because at the end of the day, people are still going to do that because at the end of the day, their problems not getting solved. They are still gonna deal with these all mental issues, and if anything, the 3,000 fine is worsening their mental part because obviously, oh man, I really want to get help, and I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, but now I have to pay a 3,000 fine now.
Yeah, it's an additional financial.
It's additional problems that may actually worsen a person's mental being. Like I'm saying it, I understand what they're trying to do, like the government and all that. Prevention is trying to be is better than cure. But from someone who has dealt with all mental anxiety and whatnot, and still do to this very day, it doesn't help the issue. If anything, it just might accelerate the process rather than preventing it or put a stop to it. So I think they might have to improve it, or at the very least say
Decriminalize it.
yeah, more in the sense that if you want to do it, at least find them, but also give them therapy, like assign them compulsory therapy sessions and all that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think if let's say if you find that person, at least those fine, at least 50% of that fine, at least you go to the person's therapy itself. At least it helps because just like what Chris said, it's not helping enough to provide the mental health section in a way, and also those therapies, because if you don't help these kind of people that are going through stuff, how are you gonna decrease the numbers of the mental health in this country itself? So for me, I guess, if you want to fine, okay, you can fine, but at least provide something in return, so that it will be good for the citizen as well.
So I kind of get it where criminalizing suicide comes from. If you look at Philippines, there's a similar stance, but criminalizing of drugs. So if in Philippines, even possession or even if you're dealing drugs, you're gonna get hanged right away. So that's kind of the same stance Malaysia is adopting when it comes to suicide. So prevention is better than the cure. Not that I approve criminalizing suicide, but I understand where it comes from because suicide is very influencing, like drugs and alcohol. Like me, most of my favorite musicians, they either died overdose or they committed suicide. And because I love their music so much, I love their work, it's something I can connect with. And to me, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, this was like the early days of social media. I don't remember if it was Facebook or Twitter. Justin Bieber, like apparently someone posted a picture on social media saying Justin Bieber slit his wrist. Yeah. It was fake lah, but all the Justin Bieber fans saw it and like they also like slit their wrist. So yeah, not that again, like not approving the criminalization of suicide, but I do get it why it's like a big no-no in Malaysia.
Right.
Yeah.
But do you think it should be decriminalized? Yes or no?
Like I would say
It's a very good question.
it is a good question. I would say decriminalize it in the sense that
But like, you know, you provide.
yeah, there's always a but. There's always a but if you do this. Like the fine makes sense, but at the very least, but at the same time, they're not getting any benefits out of it. So
Yeah.
I'm not to say decriminalize it, more like repeal it, make it better.
So-
don't put the term criminalize.
So-
Do not make mental health issue a crime because it's not a crime.
So an alternative lah. So
Yes.
to maybe like
Repeal.
some sort of like a bill to like get them to go for compulsory help.
Yeah.
Right. So then we move on to the next question. It's like, why are people so afraid of getting help? Then, well, why do you think people are afraid of getting help?
Again, legal repercussions.
Okay, maybe not in terms of like criminalization, like in general, like why are people afraid of opening up, you know, to friends or
Oh,
maybe
okay,
even looking
okay.
for yeah.
3,000 ringgit.
No, like for therapy, you know, looking for help counselors, you know, stuff like that. So what do you think?
Honestly, it's just. I mean, like Professor Lukman said the whole like Justin Bieber thing. I feel like one thing, media and all that, they're just terrified because nowadays there's something called cancel culture where people just like blah blah blah. Oh, you look ugly. Oh, you look like a. Oh, blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like it may seem like a harmless joke to them, but it still affects the people in all the wrong ways. And obviously, if you come out as someone saying, I have mental health issues, I want help, people are going to flame the crap out of you, and there is no denying that.
Right.
So obviously, it's that fear of being ostracized, it's that fear of not wanting to be separated, or at least wanting to fit in a group that you know of. But the moment you say, I have mental health, everyone's just gonna leave you. That's the one big fear when it comes to mental health, and why people might not want to open up and just say, oh, I have mental health.
Yeah.
Because it's that big fear.
Yeah.
I guess for me it's like for our country itself it's Asian country. So they think they will be like, oh, you know, because you're in Asian side, you don't need to show that you are weak because of your having a mental health.
Right.
So it considered as so weakness. Somehow you felt like you already adapt to that cultures, that saying that okay, you know what? Okay, just because people saying like that, you don't need to do that because you know you are stronger and everything. But at the end of the day, you know that you aren't able to cope with it.
Yeah.
So that's the it's the culture. The culture of Asian. It's very hard to put out your feelings in people.
Understand.
I think like something similar to Chris and Zari, I feel that being brought up in the Asian culture, Asian culture, it's not to be something proud of. Like there's always this thing where we don't share things that we are not proud of, and you know, mental health is clearly issues we have are clearly not something we're proud of. Then we don't share it to the world, you know.
Like a report card, you'll see on the report.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see that. So and you know, because of mental health, they also start with there's a stigma there where people think, you know, when you say you have mental health issues, people think, oh, you're crazy, or you know, they will think the more severe kind of mental health. They like think, oh, you're crazy, or like the other, like the R word or something like that. Yeah. So sometimes we think that it associates with that, and you know, they are afraid they will be treated differently from society. And because of that, they feel alienated. And yeah, I think that's why most of us or people are afraid to share their feelings to the world, or share their feelings to their family members, or to seek any professional help.
Alright, first thing what is pretty obvious to me is that people with mental health problems in whatever kind, they are afraid of people, their opinions of other people. But then again, that's even before social media, people are always assholes to each other. There's nothing you can do about that. The second thing that I really believe that white people are so afraid to seek out help because of being a liability, the thought of being a liability. Yeah. So for me, I've tried looking for part-time jobs in this last couple of years. I had to be honest with the condition because if anything bad happens to me, they can take the proper action and responsibility. Yeah. But every time I mention them, I do them my doctors and whatnot, they have that certain look, Yeah. Because I can't blame that though. If you're an employer, you want to get the best revenue, profit, whatever in the company. It's best to have someone more healthy in terms of be it physical and mental. Yeah. Then number 3, it would be the fear of euphemisms because a lot of people who are mentally ill, they're kind of desensitized with euphemisms like, oh man, you're strong, you can do it and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like toxic positivity.
Yeah. Yeah, because even I feel that too. When my doctor diagnosed me with schizophrenia, I was like, I was really, really because there's a medicine that can negate some of the bad symptoms, but schizophrenia is not curable. So it's something I have to live with. And even if you have depression and you have it, you have medicine and whatnot, it's not gonna cure it. Yeah. So let's say you're feeling sick for a few weeks already, then you have that thought this could be cancer or something worse. Yeah. When I knew I got schizophrenia, I was like, no, that's how I felt. Not because when you're diagnosed with something, especially the ones that are incurable, you're gonna start doubting yourself.
Definitely.
I'm a liability. I don't want to be the useless guy in the group project. Yeah. It's also a matter of you having mental illnesses, but you still want to contribute to society.
Yeah.
But just at the same time, society doesn't want you to contribute. So that's a sad truth.
Yeah. But I think majority of us, we've all managed to go and get about one form or another. I think you went to psych ward. I think you went to see a psychiatrist as well.
Yeah, I went for about a year to see a psychiatrist and talk about what I'm going through. But at the same time, what the doctor said to me was basically I taught a lot of theories that until even the doctor itself confused with me. Oh, you should talk properly with me because you are talking with me since day one. It's all about theories. So it's basically, for example, let's say if I want to tell that person I didn't talk to that person because of what they did to me and also what I didn't talk to them or whatever, but I didn't spoke their name and whatsoever because I don't want to felt guilt about it.
Yeah.
But the doctor said, oh, you should tell because that will lead you to express more and contribute everything.
Yeah.
But somehow it didn't came out to me. It puts me where I need to be theoretically because I felt the doctor is watching me.
Right.
And also okay, maybe the doctor will tell some of my friends, some of my family members.
Oh.
So I felt that way. That's the reason why I put in theory way.
You have to be honest with the doctor. This is a funny experience. I think the first day my dad introduced me to the psychiatrist, I sat down with the psychiatrist along with my dad. That's when the psychiatrist was asking. They will ask a lot of questions, especially on habits. So at that part when he asked me about do you do drugs, do you do alcohol, have you ever had sex? And my dad was like, right, like,
Oh
yeah, but you need to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like later when they ask you to take the test, I can't remember how many questions. It's basically MCQ questions, but I think around 300. Yeah.
Oh no.
So all the questions basically are have you ever thought of committing suicide? Have you ever had sex? Yeah. Yeah. So after, I mean, that's proper procedures lah. When you go for therapies, yeah. If you want to be diagnosed properly, you have to like first be honest. Be honest with the doctor. Be honest with the test. Just bear with it lah. Just bear with it. Yeah.
So, like, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in the psych wards in Malaysia? Like, your personal opinion on it and maybe what could be improved? Just a little bit. I know there's a lot, but this is good.
The only thing that doesn't need to be improved are the beds lah.
Oh man.
Because my elder brother is a psychiatrist in the UK, and he told me like the psychiatry ward in the West lah, basically Europe, UK, US, you get your own room.
Yeah.
But in Malaysia, I still do not know if. All I know is that private hospitals like KPJ, they don't have the facility for psych wards. Yeah. So the most common one people will go to would be the UM hospital. And my experience that was like really because number one, the nurses were because the nurses were my doctor, he did his job lah, but he only like comes like 2-3 times a week. Hey, how are you? Are you okay? He checks some boxes. Okay, but I'll see you like next week. It's really uncomfortable lah for me, like the UM psych ward in UM. It's very uncomfortable lah, because first you're not allowed to bring phones, any type of entertainment except books. I brought like some pens, but they confiscated it with my deodorant. I do not know why. Like this is a very small, like, I mean, not sure if it's important, but they had no like mirrors or anything.
Yeah, it makes you feel claustrophobic.
Yeah,
But
that's good.
after, when I came out, after I got discharged, I look at my phone and selfie. Oh, that's the way to look. Seriously,
Yeah.
there was a TV, but you can only watch it like for 30 minutes a day.
Damn.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
There was this guy in charge. He would be like, okay, what do you guys want to watch? There was Aladdin. I think I watched Aladdin. Not even through half of the story, you have to go back to your bed.
That's awful.
Yeah. But I think regardless of the comfortability, regardless if you're comfortable or not, staying in a psych ward is basically compulsory lah, especially because like the medicine they gave me, clozapine, they had to like adjust it and whatnot. They ask you to like how do I put that lah? So okay, basically like my medicine, it's considered the nuclear option for schizophrenic treatment. It's considered nuclear because
Last ditch.
it's the last ditch lah. And one thing that it has a very bad side effects lah. Like one thing, it kills my white blood cell counts, which means it f***s up my immune. So during my stay, like every day they have to like adjust the dose. They let me try like say 50 gram. Are you okay? Do you feel sick or
50
not?
gram, 50 gram is damn high.
Yeah. It's not
Yeah.
So I started at 25 per day, then it slowly goes up lah. So up until 200, I felt like shit.
my.
Yeah, up until 200 gram, I felt like shit. So reduce a bit. So I stopped at 150. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, because this is antipsychotics. It's not like antidepressants like weed and whatnot. Antipsychotics, they block a lot of your dopamine receptors.
Right, can you see?
Yeah.
I mean, thanks for sharing that. It doesn't sound like a psych ward experience is very, very appealing. Yeah, it sounds pretty bad, but
Say like the fucking nurses, you know, like say it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you don't have anything to do. You try to sleep.
can't see.
Hey, wake up, do some push-ups or something.
But yeah, I'm just glad every one of us here managed to get help because eventually, you know. But what's like in a sentence? Well, what's the good first step for anyone who want to get help? You know, in general.
I'll say reach out to friends or family, people you trust in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, it's always better to have someone to talk to about your feelings or what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
It in a way it's therapeutic. It helps you to feel that you know you are being heard, you are being listened,
Yeah.
and that's really I feel that it's very comforting knowing that you know someone you trust and that that a person that who loves you as a person is there to you know, support you from all the bad experiences you had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One sentence up.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, what?
You know what's funny? Because you said what was the first step to get, what is the first step to get help, right? The first thing that came to my mind was get help. I was like, yeah, and then I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, good first step is to get help. Okay, good first step. Get a hobby or surround yourself with people that you can trust and people that really do love you.
Yeah.
Right?
For me, it's either you read a book or you write something on your own journal itself.
Yeah. Journaling actually helps so much. Yeah. Reading your thoughts up. What about you?
Save the best advice for
No,
last.
but I mean, like talking to your loved ones and whatnot is pretty common, but I would say, regardless with whatever you're diagnosed with, just don't be useless lah. If you can contribute to like,
That's hard. Just don't be useless.
it can be hard, but if you're going to wallow in self-pity and whatnot with your mental illness,
It's gonna do more harm than good.
Do something useful with that time.
no, like even if you won't meet certain people's expectations or standards, try to at least like contribute, if not to anyone but yourself lah.
Yeah.
It's like do what you love.
Yeah, okay.
If you're still studying, at least don't be that not doing anything in the group project. Yeah. Because like even for me, like coming to class with like schizophrenia and all, like it can be a but I still want to see my face, you know, like yeah. If there's like group projects or whatnot, I'll do my part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't use it as an excuse or like free pass.
Yeah.
Thing like that.
Yeah.
Be strong, be strong.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think the good first step is just
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah.
Be honest. Be honest.
Yeah.
And be transparent.
Mhm.
Yeah. And, so if you guys ever need help, I'm gonna put a few places should be appearing right about now on the screen where you can go and get help. Yeah, there's a couple places here at this point. all these go look up for these places because I think some of them actually offers quite affordable services and some of them are even free. Or if you're a university student, go and look for your counselors in your universities because I think almost every university has their own like counselors and stuff where you can talk to. So yeah, do you guys have any final words of closing before I close everything up? No? If not, I'm gonna say something.
Get help.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, don't drink and drive.
Buckle your
Oh
seatbelt.
yeah, to add to my last point just now, don't let the people you love like keep worrying about you all the time.
Yeah.
Because
Don't
like
go to
yeah,
you, man.
don't do that.
Chris, horrible. Anything you want to say? Is there? If not, I'm going to close it up.
I think what they said, I agree what they said. But basically just, be yourself and always have that a little bit percentage of confidence in yourself as well.
Yes. I think for me, just to wrap up everything to close, I mean, if you can and you've already been through this you know how it feels like, I think be kind to people and be nice to people no matter how hard it takes and how shitty it is. Treat people right, and if you can, sometimes go the extra mile. You see someone's down, and just go and ask them, how are you doing, how are you feeling? Because you never know that one day maybe someone might be actually trying to kill himself, and you never know the one question will save their life. That's just for me. So yeah, I mean, thank you everyone for sharing, and it's been great. And this is
Therapy
Time.